Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of the Investing Podcast. Today, our topic is water as a commodity. So, let's begin with our line of inquiry. Should water be a commodity? I mean, it sounds like a pretty simple question on the surface, but there's a lot of ongoing debate about this, as there have been some news about it being potentially listed as one.
Well, I think it has been listed as
Do you
one
guys
now.
want to define what a commodity is first for the viewers?
Right? It's basically the idea that there has been a lot of discussions about how water is now, well, presently now, because they did actually put it, and now you can buy futures for it. You can buy water futures, meaning that it's now a traded commodity. It's a thing that can be traded. It's like milk, it's like eggs. Don't ask why you have milk futures, but it does exist. I've seen it. Not bought any, but
So it's like oil and the other stuff.
Yes.
Like
So,
gold.
what does it mean if water becomes a commodity like oil and gold and corn and cotton?
it's sellable.
Yeah, exactly. So you
Right.
put like a price tag on water. Now,
It has, I mean, you have water, bottled water, right? But this means that there is now like a mass
Yeah.
amount of it.
So that means in your household, like every single time you use water, like you get charged for it. Is that what you mean?
Well, I mean, you already get
You already
charged for it.
get charged.
Yeah, but it's like a set amount. It's like $500 a year or something, and that's like it's always that set amount. And then
I think it depends where you are. Like here,
yeah, like here's like 500. It's like
It's
it's a
a
set. It's a
flat
set
rate,
amount.
basically.
Yeah, it's like 500 a year.
Right, yes. One of these examples, right, is like, for example, farmers. They need water to water their crops, and so they can buy water futures to
Insure.
ensure, yes, exactly, right, ensure that the water prices do not get out of control in the future, right? And so basically that is like kind of the idea of it, right? Is the fact that should people be allowed to buy and own water like this, right? Because, I mean, water is a human right. The UN has stated that it is a human right. And so but outside of that, right, after you get enough for what qualifies as human right, you still have like a swimming pool, you still have like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can even say a hot shower, like,
Right.
right? Like those things technically are not within the realm of a human right. And so the question is, what should that water be done with, right? Should that be public? Should that just not have any companies like or anything that can just buy and sell it, and shouldn't be viewed as like a commodity?
So like if you compare water to, let's say, oil, right? We don't necessarily need, let's say, oil to survive, right? We can still survive without oil, but for water we need water to take in our bodies.
Yeah.
That's why
the fear is that the fact that water can now be owned by people makes it potentially subject or like susceptible to hoarding, potentially, reducing its like accessibility, especially in like poorer parts of the world, obviously, where like water is already economically really scarce, right? So
Yes, economically, geographically, politically.
Like
Yeah.
my question was what was the reasoning behind making water a commodity? Because I mean, if they're trying to like get to the point where like they're trying to like discourage people using water so that like they can so-called spend less on buying water, I mean, it'd be somewhat like reasonable. Is it like just so that they can like distribute water more equally? Was that their whole point?
There's a lot of reasons, right? Because on the flip side, right, why you would want it is because the moment it becomes a commodity, it becomes valuable, right? And now there is an actual technical market for it. You could buy it before, right? But now there's more investment into it. You can invest into it, right?
and sorry, just to cut in, by water we mean like fresh water, right? Not
Fresh water.
yes,
salt water or whatever.
Yeah,
That's like,
saltwater,
yes, fresh
right,
water.
yeah.
Yes, right. Like, if a country has water, but they just cannot access it, right? Then the water is just there. They can't really use it, right? But now that there's actual investment into it, they can now maybe perhaps put more infrastructure into developing it because it is not only used for their own people, they can also use it as an economical advantage as well.
All right,
So that's
so
why the people would want it as a commodity.
there shouldn't be a problem with water being a future if like other human necessities are always like are traded on the futures market as well. And additionally, this could help stabilize food prices as the farmers would have more consistent expenditures relating to water to water their crops.
Consistent?
Yeah, consistent because futures they already like agreed that I'm going to buy this much water from you at this price. So that price is already like set. So there would be less volatility.
Okay, I guess so.
Right, but but at the same time, right? Does this? Sorry, are you going?
I was gonna say like, so if water gets turned into a commodity, so then it becomes valuable. Would these futures still be set in place? Like it can't be changed, right? So like what these like so right now like farmers farmers are have futures for water right now, right?
Yeah, which is
But if water becomes
it is.
what-
This is like part of water becoming a commodity. Is like the futures being traded.
so it's already being traded right now.
Yes.
So it's already a commodity.
I mean, a future is literally just a contract, right? It could exist regardless of whether or not it's
Yes.
on the market, but this kind of enables more people to engage in the trading of water as a commodity. The problem with accessibility that I think is most important is the fact that the idea of wealth inequality is it's kind of well, inequality kind of perpetuates itself, where the people who have the affluence will be able to access these things more than the people who don't, who actually need them more. And because of this, obviously it makes it possible to kind of skew, the accessibility of water even more. Water technically is it's lacking in some parts of the world, not because we don't have enough of it, but because it's not being distributed well enough, and this kind of even more exacerbates the situation.
Right, because now there's a price, right? And then the futures, yes, you can have it as a benefit, right? But at the same time, there's also the risk of losing out on money that way, right? Because fundamentally, that's how a future works, right?
Right.
And like Oliver said, right, it does increase or amplify it because. Sorry, what were you saying? I'm losing my train of thought today.
Oh, how inequality perpetuates itself, so that rich people now can hoard all the water, and
Right.
poor people won't be able to.
Right. Yes. Right. And this could also happen with like companies moving into places where they can't actually access the water themselves, right? Which would lead to more hoarding because the companies now want it as a investment opportunity for themselves.
Right. So one of like the ideas that incentivized listing water as a commodity is, I think you said the other day, right? It was conservation of water, or was that carbon? Like one of you guys brought it up, I believe.
Yeah. So like since you trade it now, right, you can also technically put regulations on, right? And it would be watched, and it is watched, right? So it shouldn't get out of hand, or like the thought that like it's going to just like one guy is just going to buy it all, or like the case of like I thought it was a tomato.
I'm pretty sure it's an onion.
Was it onion? Oh yeah, the onion, tomato, whatever. Like the vegetable, like the case of like basically somebody hoarding it and jacking up the prices will theoretically never happen.
Right, but the idea behind putting a price tag on water is because if it becomes scarce, if it ever does, then it'll be really expensive, which will incentivize people to conserve it more, right?
Yeah.
Thereby saving water and making sure that we don't run out, because otherwise, it would be a catastrophe if all the fresh water would just be like completely used up.
Right.
Even though that's unlikely to happen.
So wouldn't that make like low income countries really
Yes.
like
It would.
desperate for water?
Yeah,
Like,
it would, yes. Which is another issue, right? Is like this
Because
occurring does.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like there's got to be like organizations and stuff that hand out water, right, to like low income countries and stuff.
There's always going to be like.
And it's usually for free, right? Like they're not going to charge a price for it. So then like how do they obtain that water in the first place?
Right.
They
right.
buy it.
They buy it, right?
If it's not.
Yeah,
for
but if it
profit,
becomes
then-
like if like water becomes more prominent and like scarce and whatever, the prices jack up, and then then the low income countries can lose that water source. Like they don't get like sponsorships from their I wouldn't call it sponsorship. They don't get their like support from organizations. Like it could lead to like what I don't know what you call it, like Dehydration.
Dehydration.
Mass
I mean,
dehydration.
water scarcity.
Like
Yeah.
organizations will they won't.
They might like they could bring out some other stuff. They can bring out food or something but then maybe not necessarily water anymore if its price is too high.
Yeah. So going back to okay, you can go.
Right. I mean, you raise a very good point, right? Like that could be something that happens, but at the same time, the thing is, the organizations, they don't most of the time, right? They look at what the country or whatever area needs, right? So they would still probably bring in water,
Yeah, but then they would be less in quantity.
right? Perhaps, right? But like with, for example, futures, right? They can even bring in more because they actually have a set of price that they can afford instead of an astronomical increase suddenly, right? And at the same time, right? This may not, right? So it may not affect them, like these countries, as much. But for example, like a place like the Congos, where they're economically water scarce, meaning they have a lot of water. They have like a giant river, one of the biggest in the world, right? But the thing is, they don't have the infrastructure, nor do they have the money to actually get it and use it for the people. But since it is now a commodity, they now have the chance to, because they can use it to power their own economy, and they can also give it to their people.
Yeah. So touch on Nathan's point. I was about to rebuttal like Oliver's point that like the main problem with water isn't like its inequality or inaccessibility. It's because many countries, okay, this isn't a country, but California in many cases,
Yeah.
you know how they frequently go through water shortages.
Yes,
It's not because that they can afford to have that water. It's because
they don't have it there.
Geographically,
like okay, not limited geographically, but then their infrastructure isn't sufficient.
Yeah.
Like there are many like filtration systems, I believe, that convert like salt water to fresh water to like increase the quantity of resources.
Like in California, I'd say like their water infrastructure, I guess, is relatively more advanced than, let's say, countries in Africa or some lower income countries. Obviously, California isn't a country, but you could consider it as a separate.
Yeah, I mean, like it is. It's just a smaller scale of the exact same thing, right?
And obviously, California has gotten a lot of publicity for
Yes.
their water shortages.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important to like distinguish between economic and geographic water scarcity. And what Nathan said does make a lot of sense. The fact that if water were to become more commercialized and to incentivize more investing into water infrastructure, that could really help the poor countries as well. But on the flip side,
Also, sorry, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just saying. Right? I think this is much more like if should water be public or privatized, like what we're dealing with right now. So yeah.
Interesting. What's your take on that? Do you think?
No, I mean, you can finish your thought, right? But it's just legitimately just that I think what we're discussing now is like privatization of water and public usage of water, right? And like if
water should be privately owned.
Yeah.
Or if it should be universally available.
I believe that every human should be able to have access to water and other food, despite them already being on the futures market.
yes,
But you think they shouldn't have unconditional access to water?
Well, aside
No, I
from those
think he-
exceptions, they should.
there's exceptions.
Wait, who are those
Okay, well,
Defective,
I mean-
defective resources.
Those exceptions aside,
Those exceptions aside,
Like it's generally good to have access to water.
Generally
yes,
good.
I
Yeah, it's life.
I
You need
wholeheartedly.
water.
No, go on.
You need water, right? You need water to survive. If you don't, okay, let's say, obviously, people in Africa, they don't have the water. They're both geographically and economically, I
Yeah.
guess, they're not up to it.
Yes.
And that's why, I guess, people consider it as a human right to have the water, because you need water to survive. Whereas, let's say, oil, you don't need it, or
It's
some other things.
it's
yeah, I guess like the same argument could be made for why, like food and stuff. But water is like really, really fundamental to survival
yeah, I agree, right? Because
in every way. So
because like food, I think is less of a problem because there's so a huge variety of it, right? So there's not that fear that like this one thing something would happen to this one singular thing.
that's really interesting. No, one thing that really perplexed me as a child was why we couldn't just make really efficient water filtration systems and just harness get the ocean's water and filter it into clean
Yeah,
drinking water.
I mean, I think
So it's
there-
probably very expensive. Everything
there is
because
yes. It's all about the price. Like
right.
it's cheap. It's way cheaper to just transport water from a lake than filtering through seawater.
Like I don't doubt that the technology exists.
It does exist. It definitely does.
Yeah.
Again, it's like that problem with like
It's
I was gonna say,
same thing,
like lithium batteries for electric cars.
Oh,
Like
Yeah.
there's a limited supply of lithium, so
Yeah,
like you can't actually make that many lithium cars. But the technology is there. Everything is there. It's just that we can't.
Like when something is too expensive, people don't find the need to do it.
Yes.
Like it's all about profit, And if you commercialize water, then we could potentially see like technologies developing towards water filtration.
I mean, I feel like it's a
If
bit
it-
more difficult to like talk about the context of water because it's like something that everybody needs. So like the fact that you're making it something that people pay for.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you pay for water and you pay for food, you pay for shelter, and
you pay for food, water already.
Yeah, what's really funny. I should talk about how this kind of debate, or not really debate, like this discussion, how it began. So we were going to 7-Eleven. And
Well, technically, we were walking
we were walking
out of
down.
a pizza shop.
We were walking out of a pizza shop and into 7-Eleven, and I was there.
to get water.
I saw. I didn't have my bottle on me, and I saw bottled water on the shelf. I was like, man, I can't believe I'm paying $4 for water in Canada. I didn't buy it, but that thought crossed my mind. And
I was considering buying.
it low key infuriated me that we had to pay for water in Canada when we had
Yeah.
free clean drinking water from the school water fountains.
Right, yeah, and this man wouldn't stop talking about for like a solid 10 minutes.
So my idea is that they should require all stores to have to give customers free drinking water on request.
The tap.
Tap water,
The
yeah.
tap water
It's
always
on
is-
tap.
The tap water is kind of
Actually,
iffy.
surprisingly, in Canada, most tap water is just safe to drink.
Yeah,
It
really.
is.
Okay, yeah, I mean, but obviously, I don't know, Nestle or
That's funny.
bottled water company wouldn't be able to I guess make a lot of profit for that because their business. I don't know. About
I mean,
Nestle, but
it's all about remote area. It's like you buy bottled water probably for something like camping or something. I don't know about you guys, but or if it's in the car or something. I'm not gonna bring a sink with me to the car and
That's true.
use it.
and also you trust it more. I feel like if you buy Nestle
That's
bottled
true.
water, you're gonna feel like
Because you have someone to
Because you
blame
think
if you
there's
get.
there's someone to sue. There's sanitation.
Yeah, you have someone to sue if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
with tap water, you don't have anyone to sue.
Yeah.
Exactly. You don't have anyone to blame.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's the same for my household, right? We still boil the water before we drink it. Right?
Really?
Yeah, I do.
We do as well.
We have a
No,
filtration system.
Oh, dude! I just got.
I don't know
I
if
just
it
used my
works.
fridge, bro. My fridge is
Bro, your fridge is probably unsanitized for over
No,
3
we
years.
have filters in it. It just.
Yeah, it has filters that has been
For
replaced.
the cup. No, he's
got
got
a
fixed every
point.
year.
Now imagine you're not in Canada and your
Yeah,
only
then
option
you boil
is
it,
to
then you
buy
boil
tap water.
Then you boil it, or
Or
you
you
buy
boil
bottled
it.
water or alternative drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say that you're only the river near the place you live is contaminated with poisonous metals.
Just drink it.
That was basically England. That was basically England. Basically, their river was just completely undrinkable.
I think that's probably
because of they were trying to drink from the same system that they dumped out all their waste in.
Oh, right,
So
yeah.
good luck trying to drink stuff. from
Well,
there,
I
but-
think it was. Yeah,
boiling isn't going to save you. from
boiling
that.
is kind of
Boiling would not help.
No.
Yeah, I think it was that, back then, right, they would just chuck the feces and stuff out
Yeah.
onto the streets,
Yeah.
and then when it rained, it went into.
Yeah.
You went to exactly.
Yo, so
And then they try to drink from the same place and bathe in the same place.
Yeah, which really, look, man, maybe they didn't understand sewers and stuff.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, but
Physics wasn't
nobody was
invented
was nobody really I am cleaning myself in the same place that my shit is in. That might not be really
No,
nice.
again, remember
uh,
it's that problem where in an economy, how do you get enlightened? How do people become smart in the first place, right? You have to have the chance to have free time. So back then there might not have been as much free time. Everyone was busy with their work to try to make a living.
That's true. I acknowledge that, right? But I'm just saying, you don't
Seriously, come on. Come on. Maybe they were just born in that environment. It's just it just got used to them.
Honestly, that might be true. Yeah, you're right.
We're in a society where just
That's true.
we have phones and everything.
Yes.
And then kids maybe future they're just put away your phones. Just don't look at it. Simple as that. But we can't do that.
Anyway, how does this relate to
Water is
commercialization?
That's a great question. I think the easy answer is it doesn't.
Yeah, so aside of H2O, I would also like to talk about like oxygen, because that's the only thing that's like comparable to like water in this case.
That's true.
All right, we're not going to talk about that today. Should save it for next
Well,
time.
I'm just gonna
We
mention
only
that
have-
there is bottled air that you can drink, you can
There
breathe out of.
is.
So
Yes.
you're not in the wrong if you can sell bottled water.
Right, but to an
Not
extent,
bottled
it's like here's bottled water as a commercializer. Like if it were commercial, like here's air. It's not really like you don't see it in supermarkets.
Bottled
But you
air
both
is
need it.
okay. Well, you have the
You do need
option for it. You don't need to buy it because you can just breathe your air.
That's true.
Yes,
But also,
You can also just drink tap water.
your air might be really bad.
yeah, like I,
No,
Yeah.
but let's say you got a bottle of air, right? You get I don't know, this bottle of air and you use it. It's after like, I don't know, 10 minutes, it's going to be gone.
Yeah, but if you drink
Yeah.
water after 10 minutes, it's gonna be gone too.
I know, but it can last you a long time. Whereas air, if you don't have it, you're
Which is
probably-
why air is
Yeah.
more of a more of a need than water to an extent. You can survive for 2 weeks without water. You can't survive for a minute without air.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
quite interesting. Like,
I mean that's
Or-
it is true. Like I'm pretty sure. Like I've heard that like there's like Swedish Highland air.
Yeah, like New Zealand air.
Like,
New
New
Zealand
Zealand
and
air.
mountain air. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
New
like-
Zealand mountain air. Like there's all that fancy
it's
stuff.
not surprising to me. Like,
Canada is much better.
No, apparently I've seen
Yeah.
people use it. Funny enough, like when they go skiing and
Some
stuff,
for
up,
exercising.
up on the mountains when they're like skiing, when there's
Isn't
no,
that just like wait? Is that like
It's a
it's
respirator.
a can and then like it has a lid and you open it and you put it near like a
Yeah,
mask
yeah.
kind of thing and then you breathe it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, it's good
yes,
for
I've-
intense exercise.
I've seen people do it before. It looks really stupid, but like
Yeah.
you know, it's yeah.
So, like, if that were, okay, well, we could leave this for next time, but if that were to happen, countries like, as you mentioned, I don't know, Switzerland, and New Zealand would, get a lot of people
Yeah.
trying to
Well,
get
not
the-
necessarily. It's just the people there just started up with that idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, and they've already have like a decently well-known brand if we all know about it,
That means Swiss.
which means we'll be behind if we decide to make one. British Columbia Air, fresh.
Canadian air. Like,
Yes,
it could
fresh
work,
from the
like,
Rockies.
Yeah. I mean,
in,
on
in
the
70
Rockies.
years,
Yeah.
air will be Canada's main export.
No, I mean water was
Wa-
technically
wait,
water
yeah.
is because we have the largest amount of like fresh water.
Water and air will be our main
Yes.
export. It will like
Technically, will
outcompete
dominate
lumber.
because
And
we
GDP.
have two basic needs that
Exactly.
everybody needs.
Exactly.
So like if we sell this, it's a must. Everyone must
Yeah.
buy.
On that note,
On that
that's
note,
our spiel about water as a commodity.